Congressman Evans, we made the point that this is really not about talking to the people of Washington, D.C. It's one of the most liberal cities in the country. I think it voted well north of 80% for Donald Trump. I'm wondering what you're hearing in Colorado. I think about Denver, a city I used to live in, love dearly, that also has had its own problems with progressive Democratic prosecutors and mayors who have allowed crime to get out of hand. Are there any constituents coming up to you saying, hey, will Trump do in Denver what he did in D.C.?
Well, you can see my background right behind me. I spent 10 years as a cop in the Denver metro area. I was in the Colorado Army National Guard for almost 12 years. And public safety is something that is critically important to my constituents and to folks around the country. And we're seeing in Washington, D.C. right now that core message of Republicans being reinforced. Republicans are about public safety, keeping our communities safe, getting the murder rate down, getting the carjacking rate down, getting the auto theft rate down, and making sure that we have safe places to live, to work, and to raise families. That's something that the president is doubling down on. That's a message by which I actually flipped a seat against a Democrat incumbent here in Colorado because folks want to feel safe in their own neighborhoods. That's what the president's doing, and that's a core part of the Republican message.
I'm sure that's an answer to the question about what's happening in D.C. I was a little bit more focused on Denver and how people out there are looking at it from outside looking in. Tom, what does this mean for other cities? The implicit argument is there from Trump to say my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, where the murder rate is double that of D.C. But does he have the option to do this in other American cities?
Leland, he does, although with one caveat that I'll get to in a moment. But you're absolutely right that I think what we are seeing in D.C. is almost a test program that, if successful, I would imagine President Trump is going to try to roll out in other cities across America. Certainly, Washington, D.C. is not the only big city in America with a serious crime problem. The one caveat I would give is that the District of Columbia is governed by a special system of laws that do give the president authority to do what he's doing, to come in, to basically federalize local law enforcement and essentially take over the functions of the D.C. Police Department when the regular police department can't handle it. He doesn't have the same legal authority if you're talking about other cities in the United States. Washington, D.C. is unique. It's special. I think he's going to be slightly more restricted in what he can do in other states, but I don't think that's going to limit this administration from trying to duplicate what they're doing in D.C. and other states if this proves successful.
Congressman Evans, there's an argument to be made here that this is another example of even a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate giving away their powers to an increasingly powerful executive. Why would Republicans in Congress, if you feel so strongly about crime in D.C., which I do as well, it's a huge problem, why didn't you all take the lead on this? Why not put legislation through Congress and up for debate about allowing a long-term federal presence in D.C.?
I think Congress absolutely has put forth legislation and actually had legislation signed into law to make not just the District of Columbia, but all of the United States safer again. Look no further than what we did in the big, beautiful bill where we allocated $750 million to FLETC. So that's the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, basically police academy for federal agents, because we know we need more bandwidth. We know we need more law enforcement, and we know we need to be able to recruit and retain the federal law enforcement that we have to be able to go out and do things like clean up Washington, D.C., to do things like clean up Denver, Colorado. You asked, what's the feeling on the ground in Denver, Colorado? I'll tell you. Earlier this week, we had very public federal indictments announced against 30 Tren de Aragua. So that's the Venezuelan prison gang.